I'm starting to believe that they should call America the land of free shit rather than land of the free. Because some of the things that are coming out right now from politicians is just astonishing. Apparently, you have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who says, I am one of the 45 million people with student debt. 45 million people who are held back from pursuing their dreams. Okay, you need to understand she's a senator, right? Like this is the highest position of office which any citizen of the United States can get. Like she makes around $10,000 a month. How many videos must I make in order to do that? Just how many kidneys do I need to sell? How much e-begging would I need to do in order to be able to get $100,000 a year, which she is getting? Like she probably gets a lot more than that, but you know, my entire family put together would not be able to ever achieve the amount of cash she gets a month. Like she can feed an entire Romanian village for a year with the money that she's making if she comes in my country. Like it's astonishing, right? So I would have to ask, how expensive is a student loan in the United States if that's the case? Like you would think it's a problem if even a US senator is unable to pay for it? Jesus. So apparently US senators who are swimming in cash can't figure out how to pay a student loan. I mean, didn't the left say that they want like a maximum income? Isn't one of the socialist talking points that too much cash is too much? Like at one point you don't have to do anything to do with so much money, so there should be a limit. I think $10,000 a month is a little bit too much, don't you think so? It's one of those things, you know, like leftists will say, oh yeah, this is too much money, but they always talk about some hypothetical person that's richer than them. You know, the money that they make to me is already obscenely high, but it is what it is. And even with that money, they can't figure out how to pay a student debt. How are the other people managing? Huh? How are other US citizens managing to pay their debt? And it's also the case of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who couldn't figure out how to get money in order to stay at Washington. You know, when she got elected, she was struggling financially. It's like, oh, how am I ever going to pay? It's like, well, if you can't figure that out, how are you going to make laws and legislations that are going to influence the economy of the country you're in? You know, like the more these people talk, the more I think that they should be treated. And when I say they, I mean socialists, right? Not everyone on the left, right? Because there are people like Nancy Pelosi who's very good with money. No, but I'm talking about the far left. Like people from the far left should be treated the same like someone that has mental health issues. You know, it's not their fault. They didn't choose for it. It's just that nature was cruel upon them. And just like when you have a person that has like mental health issues, they require another person to be in control of their finances because they just can't handle it. They don't know how to handle money. So it's for their own good. It's for their own protection, right? In reality, what I find interesting, right, is that America, even though I never set foot in it, I'm really fascinated with the country. I love American culture from what I see. Like, I spoke with a lot of Americans. I think they're pretty interesting people with a very fascinating way of life. I wish I was one of them. But there is one major criticism that I would have to give to the United States. And that is the way they want to have free education, right? They don't want it to be completely private so that, you know, people who can pay, they do the education. People who can't pay, well, tough shit, right? So it's not a 100% private system. But it's not a public system either like we have in Europe. See, in Europe, the state builds universities and they are operated and owned by the state. And besides those universities, you also have private universities that, you know, people just want to start their own university or something, and that's fine. So you have like a public system and a private system. Now, the state isn't operating those universities to make a profit. They're operating them at the minimum possible cost. And because of that, the private universities, they can't say, oh, we're going to charge $50,000 for, I don't know, a law school or something like that. Because the public one is much lower and they will lose clients. They will lose people going there to study. And it also gives the state the power to decide what is being taught in those universities. It's the reason Viktor Orban decided to shut down gender studies, because he found out that, well, what are people going to do with a gender study degree? What are they going to work? So they decided that, yeah, if you want gender studies, it has to be private. The state is not going to use taxpayer money in order to fund that. And there was like a big controversy all over the media because Orban decided to shut down gender studies. But he can do this because in Europe, the universities are owned by the state. So the state can decide, right, what's going to go on there because it uses taxpayer money. Meanwhile, in the United States, it's not like that. It's a system that's in between, right? It's like a limbo. It's not private, it's not public. So basically, you can get the government to give you a loan so that you can do a university, and then you have to pay back the loan. And obviously, some people who are a lot smarter, they look at the loan and they say, well, I'll never be able to pay that. So they choose not to go to a university because they look at it and it's like, okay, the loan is too much. I'll never be able to pay it off. And apparently those people are going to be punished now because the people who are greedy, the people who went, I don't know, to a gender studies university and they said, yeah, you know what, I'll do it. I'll do it and I don't care. I'll see how I'll pay for it. And now their debt is going to be wiped clean if Bernie Sanders has his way. And it's like, what is fairness anymore? What happened to the concept of fairness? And I think it's like another YouTuber was pointing out that the left is interested with results, while the right is interested with fairness of procedure. And fairness of results is that they want everyone to be equally the same, which means that the procedure through which you get people to be the same doesn't really have to be fair. Like they believe the end justifies the means. Now, what's interesting about the United States and their universities is because if the government is willing to just give everyone a loan, then the demand increases, right? So the supply is going to drop, which means that the price for going to a university can be astronomically high. Like in my country, when I did law school, and by the way, the law school, not the law school, but any university you do in Romania is recognized throughout the entire European Union. And the European Union makes sure that the things that get taught there are the same things that you would be taught in Germany or in France, right? And to me, law school costed around $300 a year. All right? And I'm pretty sure it might have increased since how much it costed back then because of inflation and stuff like that. But it was really cheap. And you have to think about it, like, Americans are probably shocked to hear, like, what do you mean a university costs $300 a year? Well, it's just an empty classroom where you have a teacher that's teaching shit. Like, how much money do you think that costs? Like, literally, everything they make goes to pay the teacher's wages. I mean, that's it. Like, when I did med school, however, med school was really expensive. Why? Because you need to bring teaching equipment for the students. I mean, in the first year, we had dead bodies where we actually used them to learn anatomy from. And those cost because you have to put them in refrigerators that are specially designed for that. The electricity costs. We had microscopes and different pathogens that some of them are expensive and very rare, so that the students can look and see how a Mycobacterium tuberculosis look like. And there's a lot more money involved. So I understand why studying at the University of Medicine is more expensive than studying at law school, where all they have to pay is the staff and electricity, right? So that's it. But in America, I guess law school would be incredibly expensive. And I know, some of you might say, well, then everyone can get a degree. It's not that, because in order to get to law school, you needed to have really good grades within high school. And when you get into law school, you need to keep having good grades to maintain having good grades in order to have a scholarship. So, anyway, my point is that the American system regarding student debt is really messed up. And I can understand why a lot of Americans who made bad decisions are now upset because they have debt. But they also have an advantage towards other people. Like, first of all, when you go to law school or you go into one of these universities, you make a lot of connections. And in this day and age, in order to get hired, having connections is a lot easier than just sending resumes to random places. So, being in a university, the most important thing you can do is to network with other people, to socialize with other people, to, like go next to a teacher and try to suck up to them. It's what a lot of Romanians did, in order for that teacher to then suggest like a place where you can find work or something. If you prove to him that you actually are capable and you know the stuff. But these advantages don't exist for people who don't get the degree, and also having a degree means you can ask for more money when you finally get employment. It means that certain jobs opportunities are open for you. So they do get like a lot of benefits that people who don't get to a university don't have. And it's not fair for them. But the idea of fairness doesn't exist anymore. So all these $2.2 trillion to cancel all student debt is not going to be paid by the banks. I guarantee to you this. Like, I can make a bet on it. It's going to be paid probably by the middle class. And it also removes personal responsibility from people. Like everyone who has a university, they act on the internet especially, like they're smarter than the people who don't. And I'm always laughing at these people because I'm pointing out, it's like, look, I did law school, alright? I got a diploma, I got really good grades, and I keep my diploma in a drawer because I couldn't find a job with it, alright? Like I didn't have the connections in order to find the job. It was the economic crisis. Meanwhile, I have a friend who went to one of these trade schools. Everyone was laughing at him because, he doesn't have a university. And now he's making more money than doctors do. Because he went into Germany and all he does is like, people are calling him, fix this light bulb. The power went out. Can you fix this and that? So, a plumber can actually make a lot more than someone with a gender studies degree. That's the world we live in. But no, like for some reason, people who go to university seems to be considered to be a lot more enlightened, a lot more smarter than everyone else, And it's like, okay, if you're so enlightened and if you're so smart, why didn't you notice that you're not going to be able to pay the debt when you made it? I mean, I could have made a huge debt when I started my YouTube channel and I was like, okay, now I'm making money. Maybe I want to buy a 4-room apartment, maybe I want to buy a mansion. I'm pretty sure the banks would have been like, yeah, sure. But I'm thinking about the future, I don't want to be a slave to the banks and go like, pay the debt. But the thing is, like, fine. Like, if you really want to cancel the debt, you know what should happen? People who want to take the deal, people who say, fine, cancel my debt, take away their diploma. It's like a buyback thing. It's like you purchase a product, you're not satisfied, you return it. Huh? Do you think they will still want it then? Some of them might, maybe they do, like some of them would be like, holy shit, I did a gender studies school and I'm not happy, I can't find work. I'll take it. And I'll give away my diploma. People are still going to get screwed, like, because when you do even gender studies, you still manage to network and get connections and people that know you and stuff like that. So you still get something out of it. It's just that you don't have the piece of paper anymore. You don't get to say, I finished the university, right? That would be fairness. Treat it like any other product. Money back, fair enough. But you get to renounce the fact that you have a degree. Let me know what you think. Definitely looking forward to hearing from you guys.